So after our portrait lessons, I get students to draw a face on a piece of black. We try to stick with the same sort of guidelines, and you don't need a lot of detail because we're going to go over it with a glue and you lose some of that detail. Hair is always a thing. Bit of decoration. I also get students to put a border on the page because it helps contain the mess of the charcoal, of the pastel. And then what we do with once that's done is we use the glue. And as much as you say it to students not to put too much glue, they all put too much glue. No, that's not true, not all of them. So when I make examples, I always make a couple extra for the kids who, you know, they're just not quite happy with their work. And if I give them one of my examples, they would get a modified assessment task. Now you can see how long this is taking me. It's not taking me very long. Now that when you once it's done and you take it over to the drying rack, you've got to be careful that they don't tip them, because that will in turn make the glue run. And then what happens is after that we do the pastels, we do different techniques, and then we use the pastels to fill in that space. And that's done. Oh, no, I'm going to put a bit of a neck. Maybe a freckle. And it's done. Okay, so today we're going to have a play at using some pastels. What are we having a go at playing with? Pastels. So that's the name of a medium. Well, medium's a cool word. Do you know what medium is?
In between small and big.
That's sort of medium, but when we're talking about artwork, medium is what we've used to create our work. So for our 10-minute sketch day, what was the medium that you used?
Pastels.
A pen.
Oh, yeah. The tool.
The tool. Okay, that's another word. So when we did our 10-minute sketch the other day, what was the medium that you used? A pencil. What's the medium that you're going to use today?
Pastel.
Pastel. Pencil, pen, and pastel. I can see how it can get confusing. Okay, so what I'm going to get you to do is I'm going to get you to set up your paper. So you've got an A3 piece of paper. If you don't have an A3 piece of paper, you need to grab a piece of A3 piece of paper from the cupboard. How many times have I said A3? Do I want you to get an A3 piece of paper? Okay, crack on to an A3 piece of paper, please. So girls and guys, I'm going to show you how to do some pastel techniques, but we need to set up our paper first. So you have an A3 piece of paper and you have it placed in a landscape position. When I turn the paper so it's the other way, what's that called? Does anyone know?
Portrait.
Portrait. Okay. I'm such a good teacher. You guys already know. Oh, someone else said that. Okay.
My art teacher told me.
Bargain. What I'm going to get you to do is divide your paper into 6 sections. How long did that take me? How long did it take me to divide my paper into 6 sections? About 3 seconds? I will count to 3 and you will have that done. 1, 2, 3. We're done. Now, I'm going to get you to put some headings on your sections, please. The first one, now, my setup is different, so I'm going to write where it should be, and then I'm going to write it a bit bigger so that you know what to write. So in this corner here, I want you to write blending. B-L-E-N-D-I-N-G. And you're writing blending in the first section. Okay, going in the second box is side of the stick. Side of the stick. And that sits in. Third one's a bit tricky. You ready? In the third one, I would like you to write blending using the side of the stick. In the third box, you're going to write blending using the side of the stick. Fourth one, you're going to put in here. The fourth one is pointillism. Pointillism. And how many words are you getting today? Oh my God, there's too many.
It's a literacy class.
Yep.
It's an English class mixed with an art class.
That's the way we do it. That's the way we roll. That's how good we are.
What are you shopping?
In the storeroom.
Oh yeah, they would like to. We need more words.
Now, fifth one is line build-up. So the fifth one's going to go in here, there, and it is line build-up. I know.
What?
Okay, so year 7, the first thing we're going to have a look at today was the first square which we wrote. What was the word that we wrote down on the board? Blending. Listening, please. Okay, so blending. Now, when you look up how to use a medium, you can look up online, you can look in books. Looking up in a book, you know. But this is where I've got my information from. Sometimes when you read a lot of information or you get a lot of information, you hear the person saying blah, 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 blah. You don't take it in. So it's fine for you to go over something. So I'm going to read the whole paragraph to you, and some of you will hear me say blah, 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 and some of you will hear the points that you're going to need to take in, but then we're going to reinforce them, but I'm going to say them again, and then we're going to do an example. I'm going to do an example, and I'm going to send you back to your table for you to do an example. Sounds like a plan, Stan?
Yep.
Good, here we go. Blending. Blending produces the soft, subtle tones, more words to describe our artwork, that are unique to pastels. Shade different colours next to each other, interlacing some of the strokes so they merge. Then gently blend with your fingertips. This is the best method of blending as the pressure can be controlled very precisely. Now it says to use a torchon for fine details. I used to have them, but kids used to steal them, so I've stopped buying them, so we're going to use our fingers. Now, let's recap on what it is that you have to do. Shade different colours next to each other. So I'm going to choose some different colours. Does anyone remember what colour scheme I've... Oh, a snap. Lovely. Moving on. You need to shade different colours next to each other, interlacing some of the strokes so they merge. So if I have my colour and I'm using my strokes, that's side by side, but then we're going to interlace some of them so that they merge. It's my colour, then I'm going to go over it, so I interlace some of those colours. Then the next step said, then gently blend with your fingertips. Now, when you're blending with your pastels, if you pick or scratch at anything, everyone's going to know what you're picking and scratching at. So be careful when you get your dirty fingers. I'll bring some paper towel out and you can be washing your hands. Now, when you're blending pastels, if you want to turn it into a muddy mess, it's easy to do. Red's a really dominant colour, so I'm going to keep one finger for my red, another one for my orange to bring up, and then another one for my yellow to work that over. So I now have a yellow, an orange, a red, and a muddy sort of colour. Okay, so that's a nice easy one. Could you go back and have a go at doing blending, please? The next one we're having a look at is what's called the side of the stick. What's it called?
The side of the stick.
Here we go. I'll read it out. It's easier to use the side of the stick to cover a large area. This produces an interesting texture, especially on a rough paper. We have a flat paper, so we're not going to get that sort of texture. But if you are using a watercolor paper, you can get a rough and a smooth, or a hot or a cold press paper. You can use one color on top of another and then either leave them or blend them. So we are using the side of the stick.
Look at your face in the mirror, buddy.
We'll do it later. Just stop for a second, please, year 7. We're going to be using the side of the stick to cover a large area. This produces an interesting texture, and then you can blend or not blend them. So if I had side of the stick Blend or not blend? Side of the stick. A little bit of interlacing.
That's what I just did.
Really?
Yes.
Blending, not blending. So without, it's my dodgy tree. Oh, if that's in the background, oh, it made him too big. Then I can put another one. So I'm using the side of the stick, and I've sort of had a little play with a landscape. So you can see how I've done the technique. I've done the technique and turned it into a little picture. Now, what you'll also started to notice is the pastel creates a dust. When you're sitting across from someone, please don't blow the dust onto them. It just makes a big mess. If you're feeling the need to, take your paper over to the bin and then just put that in the bin. Okay, what's the technique that you're having a go at doing?
Side of the stick.
Good, thank you. The next one we're having a go at is blending using the side of the stick. So you're going to be thinking you put a little bit of these in together. So I'm going to read out information first. Blending using the side of the stick. You can use these techniques together for a textured effect over an area of lightly blended colour. Either use the side of the dark stick over pale blended pastel, or pale pastel over a dark area. Who heard me say blah, blah, blah? Or, so I've got a light. What if I used, that's right. What if I used, so can you see I've started with a light, but you can start with dark if you wish. And then I'm going for a little bit of desert action. And then my finger's pretty good. Now, again, if you want to turn it into a mud, just have a see, you can, but I'm suggesting, boys, watch please. Then I'm suggesting that you sort of be careful with the fingers that you are using for things. Okay, I'm getting a bit excited because I want to put some like rocks or something happening in there. Maybe a little bit of a highlight to bring that back out. That didn't work. Oh, that's a bit better with something dark. With a rock.
Is that a hedgehog?
It's a rock. It's a rock. Work with me, year 7. Okay, off you go, please. The next one we're having a look at is Pointillism. This was also an originally extreme form of Impressionism, which is an art period, but is also suitable for pastels. The colours are not mixed on the paper. The colours are not mixed on the paper, but placed next to each other in small dots. When you look at the picture from a distance, your eye blends the dots or points to form one colour. There are different French Impressionist painters that we could have a look at. Okay, so it's dots, 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 dots. You're not going to want to watch me do a large area. Now, dots means creating a dot. It doesn't mean slamming the pastel so hard on the table that it cracks and breaks. If you are one of those, what do you get to use instead of pastels?
Special pencils.
The special pencils. Now, I'm not blending, but I am trying to interlace. Now, if we looked at this from a distance, not quite in this sort of amount of time, but the idea is I'm doing a sunset.
It looks like the same in the camera. It's the same as the pastel over there, the green and blue.
So I would try to make a sunset using the dots, not blending them, not smudging them in together, keeping them separate, but doing enough so you get your dots, but try not to, be careful with your pastels. Yeah, have a go. Okay, the next one we're going to do is called line build up. What's it called?
Line build up.
And this is our 5th one, so we're nearly finished. Now, it's pretty obvious because we've been working through the steps. So this is a similar technique to Pointillism, but uses lines instead of dots to create one colour. Using complementary or contrasting colours, we're going to have a go at complementary colours, and complementary colours are opposite each other on the colour wheel. So and you guys have all done colour wheels. So if we have a basic colour wheel, we've got our primary colours, which are red, blue and yellow. What colour does red and blue make? Purple. Yellow and blue make green. Yellow and red make orange. Okay, so you need to use you need to use colours that are complementary. So they're opposite each other on the colour wheel. So I'm going to use red and green. So I'm going to use my lines. Oh, now can you see how I've just done that first line? It's a bit chunky and a bit wishy-washy. I'm actually going to try to, oh, that's better. And then as I go, the line gets thicker. So I actually need to turn the pastel, there you go, around to try to keep that point. And then I'm going to use, no, maybe not, maybe that one. Oh, that one, that's a bit better. So trying not to go over, but you're going to build up your lines. Have a go at that one for me, please. Girls and guys, we've actually done 5 different techniques, and I've walked around and I've given you some scrap paper. There are some glue sticks on the table, so if you could get one for your table and share it, I would appreciate that. Now, pastels can be beautiful on white paper, but they can also be beautiful on coloured paper. So you need to stick your coloured piece of paper in on your 6th spot that you've created. Then you can start to draw a composition. It's up to you what you want to have a go at doing. But I would like you to make sure, can you see the difference in the intensity? You can see the
think that's a firework.
You can see the difference that it has on the colour. So you can work from one sheet onto the other. But I would like you to glue your paper in first. What happens if I
Smudge it.
What's our technical word that we've just been using? Blending.
That looks awesome. The blending looks better on the
So what have I just done now that I've done some blending?
dots.
What were the dots called?
So we're putting everything together.
You can put it all together, but I would like you to just have a, oh, that's actually, see how it's separated and it's got that beautiful line? That's actually nice as well. Okay, so you're sticking your paper in, getting a glue stick and having a go at doing your own piece. We're going to start to fill in our faces. So in order to do this, we're going to do it in a couple of different stages. The first section is where you have skin, you predominantly make it white. If you choose to make your figure a darker colour, you wouldn't put in the white, you would use the browns and the blacks. Now, I am not pressing very hard and I'm not leaving a lot of line work, but I am going over all my skin area. I'm not doing my lips or my eyes yet. You really need to work the blending part of this in.
Looks like it's something scary.
Looks like he's put on a face mask.
You're then going to add a skin colour. Now I've got lots of different tones of skin colours. I'm not getting all these beautiful pastels out, but I have a collection of skin colours that I will put in here for you to have a go at doing. Okay, so I'm going to work my skin colour and then I'm going to start to blend that in. Now that's still too white for me. So I'm going to put that skin colour over again. Okay, I'm getting happier with that. Now, if you don't put any extra tones, they end up being a bit flat. So I'm going to put a little bit of something in the cheeks. And I'm going to darken a little bit. You can move away. Further into that. So I'm not doing the whole piece because it'll bore you to death, but you can see how I'm starting to work in my colors. I am going to give my person red lips, and I think I might give them, I'm going to make their eyes a little bit whiter. Now, do I have any iris in there? Because we use, oh, there you go. So I'm going to just soften the white. And then I have a beautiful blue for my colour. Now, you need to think about how you're going to do your hair. So my hair colour will be a shape. Now, if it's flat, it can be a little bit boring. So I'm going to bring in my hair colour, but I think I'm going to add a little bit of tone into that and maybe a little highlight. Now you can have a play at putting that in. Okay, so that's going okay. So you need to do the whole face and the neck and their shoulders. Some of you have clothes on your figures, so you can do that. Now, background. You need to do your backgrounds. Orange, I think I'm gonna go orange or brown. I think I'm gonna go, now you don't have to have one color. You can make a pattern, you can put whichever, you can put them into something if you wish. And then I'm going to start to work. Now remember, you've got the line build up and then you've got the dots and you've got the blending to have a go at doing. So this is our task that we're going to try and get done before the bell goes. So girls, you are going to start with the white of the face and then the skin color. Boys, you are going to start with the hair and the background. And then once you're both done, then we swap over. And then that way I don't have to get 24 pieces of pastel out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, for example, I've just grabbed some new pastels out. This is my white, and you can't blend with all of the tape on the outside. So you're going to have to break your pastel in half and take your paper off to be able to blend with the pastel. Does that make sense for people? Yeah. Okay, so girls, what are you working on?
The face.
Yeah, and you need to blend. Don't overdo the white. And then boys, you're working on what? Hair and background. Have a go.
Oh, I'm gonna have to have white.
Start with your white, boys.
White.
Just think.
I need like this so I make my eyes my eyes. Yes, it is.
Where do you have my knife?
Why do you have pastel on your pot?
I need to get tripod.
I've ordered one on the internet.
Oh, have you?
It's going to look like I fast forward with how quickly my hands are going.
Time lapse it.
Yeah.
So girls and guys, boys, watch. Okay, so what you're going to have to do is after your piece, you need to spray the fixative on it. You can get it from the $2 shop, so it's nice and cheap. This one's about $8 or $9 a bottle. Now you need to do this outside, and you need to make sure you're doing it safely, not mucking about. You need to spray your work from left to right, so that the fixative helps the pastel adhere, stick to the paper. It's not perfect, so if you still smudge it, it'll still smudge. Don't do this, because all that does is make your work bleed.